Good evening. Welcome to the Region Bylaws Chair Training. This workshop will review the process for approving unit and council bylaws, as well as region bylaws, with a few other goodies thrown in. Some things to remember while we review this process. Bylaws must be renewed every 3 years for units and councils to maintain their good standing status. This process requires review and update by the unit and council, and all the forms needed and instructions are located on the New York State PTA website on the bylaws page. Members of the unit must be given 30 days notice of the meeting to adopt the new bylaws, and the bylaws must be approved by 2/3 of the voting members. Units and councils can only use the bylaws wizard process. Sometimes units will try to print out and mail the bylaws to you or electronically send to you. They must use the bylaws wizard. Bylaws are valid for 3 years from the date of approval by the New York State Bylaws Coordinator. Expiration dates occur 4 times per year in January, April, July, and October. The expiration dates reset on the 15th of the month following those 4 months. So for example, July, any bylaws submitted and approved by New York State between May 15th and August 14th will have an expiration date of July 1st. Any bylaws approved by New York State August 15th through November 14th will have an October 1st expiration date, and so on throughout the year. The bylaws can be reviewed at any time and be resubmitted. However, every 3 years, they must be resubmitted, whether revised or not. They should be sent 30 days prior to the date of expiration to the Region Bylaws Chair, or in the Chair's absence to the Region Director. No more than 3 amendments may be made to existing bylaws within the 3-year period. The bylaws amendment form is available on the New York State PTA website. No amendments may be made on bylaws that are within 90 days of expiration date. These would have to be submitted as new bylaws. Mandated articles and sections cannot be amended by the unit and council. Changes to those mandated articles and sections can only be made by a vote of delegates at the National PTA or New York State PTA conventions and automatically become part of bylaws. Many times the units that mail or email you the bylaws for approval have changed or are attempting to change these sections. That is one of the reasons they must use the bylaws wizard. So the bylaws wizard process for region bylaws chairs. Check your region bylaws report on a regular basis for information. This can be accessed through Member Hub. It is also sent to region directors on a regular basis. When a unit or council bylaws are due for revision, send the appropriate form letter to the unit or council that their bylaws are due to expire, and do this no less than 90 days prior to the expiration date. This letter should include your contact information, including your mailing address, and instructions on how they can renew their bylaws. These fillable letters are available for you on the Region Board Member Hub site. The link is at the bottom of the page, or email me for a copy. There are additional letters on Member Hub for expired bylaws and reminders to send the cover sheet to the Region Bylaws Chair. If the bylaws are expired more than 90 days, the office will send out a letter to the president as a reminder with a CC to the region director. It's imperative that you work with your region director to do your best to get these units to begin the bylaws process. Usually the office will notify the region bylaws chair or the region director before they send out these letters. A unit with expired bylaws would be ineligible for awards and grants, and they also risk possible dissolution of the unit if they do not comply within a reasonable amount of time. Once a unit creates bylaws using the wizard, they receive a copy via email of the proposed bylaws for review by their membership. You will also receive an email directing you to Salesforce. If you are a new Region Bylaws Chair or Region Director, you will receive access to Salesforce from the office if you haven't already. So the email you receive should take you directly to the bylaws summary page for that unit. You may also find them in the bylaws awaiting region approval queue in Salesforce. And as you can see, I have a sample of that here. The part circled in red is how you know it's bylaws awaiting regional approval. And you can click the drop down on that and click your bylaws awaiting region approval. Clicking on the unit name, be sure to click on the bylaws number, not the unit name, to review. Clicking on the unit name will take you to the unit information. You can go there to view the current bylaws and expiration date, but you cannot access or approve the submitted bylaws via the unit name. You always have to click on the bylaws number. So you're going to click the edit button and take a look at the information as listed. For new chairs, any bylaws that have been submitted prior to the date that you were granted approval may need to be approved by the office. You might not be able to make any edits on these bylaws. Contact me if you have any issues with this. Make a note in the issues to resolve section if there is anything missing, such as the adoption date, or if anything else stands out at you, something like they have a nominating committee of 25 members. Also check on the accuracy of the additional family member dues. Many times units will put in a high number in the additional family member dues because they are trying to set up a family membership. We are a one member, one vote organization. Our bylaws do not allow for family memberships. You should refer back to the last approved bylaws for the unit council to compare for any changes. I find that when doing this comparison, printing out the past bylaws summary page and comparing it to the submission is very helpful. Check the number of council delegates versus the council bylaws of which they are a member. Units may choose to have fewer delegates than the council bylaws list, but they may not have more than the number specified in the council bylaws. You can check the council bylaws by going into Salesforce, click on the unit name. You will see the council they are a part of listed on the right. Click on the council and you can scroll down and click to view the council bylaws for cross-reference. Check with the unit about any issues that need to be resolved and notate it in the issues to be resolved section. Once resolved, you can remove your note. However, if you think there's anything that I might question, you can also notate that in the issues section and that you have verified or corrected per the unit. If there are things that you questioned and you verified with the unit that they actually intended the change you are questioning, be sure to notate that and add verified for me, because otherwise you'll get an email from me questioning it. Because if it stood out to you, it'll stand out to me. So just to review what we've just discussed. In the blue circle, this is where it will indicate new bylaws or amendment to bylaws. So you're going to make sure that's correct, that they've put that in correctly. In the red circle is the issues to resolve box, where you will make your notes or leave notes for me. On this page, when you scroll down, again, it's the same page that you're approving. When you scroll down, in the red circle is where you'll see the dues. You can review and compare these to the previous to see if there are any questionable changes. And in the blue circle is the nominating committee section. Review it to make sure it's reasonable and nothing outlandish in there on the numbers on the nominating committee. As you continue scrolling down, you will see in the left box under additional executive board members, the choices they have to add to the board. And on the right, circled in red, is what they've chosen. If they previously had additional members on the board and now they have none, you may want to check with them that they meant to change that. Sometimes it's an accidental oversight. There is a similar section to this for the executive committee. In the blue circle is where they list the council delegates. If there is a 0 here and the unit belongs to a council, verify not only the choice, but the intent. Sometimes they only want the president to represent them with no additional delegates. Once in a blue moon, though, The unit wants to withdraw from the council. That is a whole different process and needs to involve the region director. In the green circle is where you will find the quorum. The rule of thumb is that it should be equal to 2 times the number of officers at a minimum, but never less than 10. Once you've finished looking over the summary and making any edits, click Save. Only edit after verifying the changes you're making with the unit. What may look like an error to you might actually be what they intended to do. You're going to contact the president and remind them to send you the signed cover page via email or mail. And if submitting an amendment to the bylaws, the unit must also send you the signed amendment form. Once you have received the cover page, go back into the bylaws record and input the date it was received and click Save. Always be sure to click Save, otherwise whatever you do won't be saved into the page. If you're unable to edit any items, please contact me for assistance. Again, you're going to check that the bylaws are listed properly as new or amended. Once you be careful to verify that, and if it is within 90 days of an upcoming expiration date, or if current bylaws have already expired, then it's new. If they are listed improperly, you can try to edit before you approve. If you can't, or if you have already approved and then realize the error, send me an email to advise so I can change it before I approve it. Once you have made sure that the record is correct, scroll down and click on Approve. The record will then go into the bylaws awaiting state approval queue for review and approval by me. However, don't approve until you have the signed cover sheet and have entered that information. You can also check on Member Hub. You should also check on Member Hub to verify that the president and the secretary on record are the ones that have signed the cover page. It gets a little tricky this time of year. If the bylaws were approved by the membership before July 1st, the president and secretary for 2020-2021 year have to sign the cover page, not the officers that took office July 1st. You are the only one with the signed cover sheet and the amendment form, so you must file this with the unit's bylaws in your region folder in the event it is needed for verification at some point. The way your regions are saving their bylaws is an individual region choice. Some are using hard copies, some are using flash drives, some are using Google Drive. So check with your region director how they want to save that. You can always access the state approval queue to see the status of the bylaws that you have approved and to see if they have been approved and cleared from the state approval queue. You also have the option to delete or reject bylaws if they are test copies, duplicates, or ones that should not have been submitted. When there are multiple copies, sometimes the wrong ones get processed through. So be very careful with this. This is a very important step. So here's some examples of what we just talked about. When you scroll all the way down on the bylaws summary page, you will see a box similar to this for you to approve or reject. This sample was taken from my page, but you will see a similar box. When you click approve or reject, it will bring up a second window and you click approve or reject if you are rejecting. But if there are only minor errors that can be fixed by you or the unit, do not reject. Work on the unit to fix. I will approve the bylaws by entering the date of approval, the date of expiration, and an electronic signature. We are currently experiencing a glitch where my signature is not being added automatically as it should. The office is working on it, and I will be going back in all approved bylaws since I started to try to figure out exactly when this started happening. Any units that got unsigned bylaws will be getting a signed copy in the near future. Once they're signed electronically, I will edit the expiration date on the unit council page in Member Hub, as well as check that the membership dues are correct in the unit store. If they need updating, it will be done by myself. The approved bylaws will then be sent to the email of the person who created the document, where they can be printed out for distribution. You can also access a copy of the approved bylaws on the unit's Member Hub homepage. I will conduct periodic reviews of the Region Q in order to remove any bylaws records that have been there for more than 6 months. The Region Chair should also review their queue for bylaws that have been there that long or longer, and contact the unit about any outstanding issues that may be holding up the process. I would ask that you do this review as soon as possible. If you know of any extenuating circumstances as to why a certain unit should not have the bylaws removed, please contact me to let me know. We will be having a Zoom meeting in the coming weeks of the bylaws chairs to talk about bylaws that have been in the queues for an inordinate amount of time and what steps are needed to clear them up. So another fun thing as a bylaws chair that you were involved in is the unit council name change process. If a region board member is contacted by a unit or council who wish to change the name of their unit or council, please follow this process. Send to the bylaws coordinator the following 4 documents. First, you're going to send a copy of the minutes of the general membership meeting that show the unit and council voted to approve the name, or council voted to approve the name change. And you're also going to send a copy of the signed cover page of the current bylaws with the old name. These bylaws must not be expired. If the bylaws are expired, the unit or council will need to renew the bylaws under the old name first. Once I have these 2 documents, I will contact the state office to have the name changed in the system databases. After the name is changed in the systems, the unit or council then has to go through the bylaws wizard to renew their bylaws with the new name and send the cover page to their region bylaws chair. A copy of the signed cover page of the renewed bylaws after the name change now has to be sent to the state bylaws chair and a coordinator, and the original sales tax exemption certificate, not a photocopy. Now, a lot of times units are unable to find that. So in that case, a letter from the president of the unit stating that it has been lost and that the unit name has been changed, providing their contact information will suffice. And that also has to come to me. To complete the process, I will scan all 4 documents and send them to the state office to process the name change with the IRS and the New York State Sales Tax Exemption departments. A lot of times units will think that they can just go ahead and change the name because the school name changed. They cannot, because there are IRS and New York State Tax Department implications, and they must follow this process. Region bylaws. As with units, region bylaws must be reviewed and renewed every 3 years. As region bylaws chair, you should assist your region by being a part, if not the chair, of the region bylaws committee. There are 2 different fillable form patterns for regions. Be sure to compare your current bylaws to ensure that you are using the correct form for your region. Your region board should be made aware of any changes and vote on the approval of the bylaws prior to the annual meeting. Be sure to have the region vote early enough to allow for proper notice to members prior to the annual meeting. And a copy of your current region bylaws, the fillable form, and instructions are on the Region Board Member Hub site. Your region membership must be informed that bylaws will be voted on no less than 30 days before your spring conference annual meeting. Any changes that are to be made should be included in the notification to the membership with contact information for questions. Once the bylaws have been approved, send the signed cover sheet and a copy of the bylaws document to the bylaws coordinator as soon as possible. I will need a hard copy and an email with Word and PDF attachments. A copy of the updated bylaws with the new expiration date and signed cover sheet will be returned to the region director and posted to the region board section of Member Hub. I will also update the region page on Member Hub with the new expiration date. Now, another thing the region bylaws chair gets involved with is new charters. So your responsibilities as a region bylaws chair for a new charter are as follows. If you are available, attend the charter meeting with your region. You will then be able to collect the signed and dated cover sheet right away and won't have to wait for it to be sent or delivered to you. The unit should have completed their bylaws online and had them approved at the charter meeting. If you are not in attendance at the meeting, have the cover sheet collected and given to you as soon as possible after. Once adopted, you can review and approve them, but do not approve prior to the charter meeting and the vote. As soon as the federal ID number and the New York State tax exempt number have been obtained, they will be entered onto the unit's bylaws in Salesforce. The bylaws will then need to be re-entered online by the unit so that all the information prints on the cover page. You may use the signed and dated bylaws cover sheet from the charter meeting. They do not have to send you another one. It can then be reviewed by the region bylaws chair and sent to the state for approval. The Region Member Hub site has PowerPoints available for your use to present workshops in your region for the units and councils. The two that are up there right now are Bylaws and Procedures and Bylaws Wizard for units and councils. I will be updating these PowerPoints in the near future, but for now, use the ones that are there. And I want to thank you for taking on such an important position. I look forward to working with all of you and am here to assist. You can always reach me at bylaws@nyspta.org or at 516-735-5625. Please leave a message if I don't answer. I might think you're a telemarketer. I want to thank you again, and hopefully now we have time for questions.